A very warm welcome to you. Thank you very much for joining us on platform. I am Ruth Aguele, and as usual, we have brought an important issue on the platform. And let's begin this way. The Office of the Auditor General of the Federation is an independent entity whose existence, powers, duties and responsibilities are provided for under Sections 85 of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, that is as amended. Now, under the Constitution, Section 85, subsection 2, provides that the public accounts of the Federation and of all offices and courts of the Federation shall be audited and reported on by the Auditor General, who shall submit his report to the National Assembly. In addition, Section 85, subsection 4 of the Constitution stipulates that the Auditor General of the Federation shall have power to conduct periodic checks on all government statutory corporations, commissions, authorities, agencies, including all persons and bodies established by an act of the National Assembly. Now, it is however incumbent on the National Assembly to call to account public institutions whose accounts have been commented upon, that is by the Auditor General of the Federation, to come and explain how prudent with regard to efficiency, economy and effectiveness they have handled such funds, and take necessary steps where necessary, where they have fallen short of expectations in the collection of revenue and expenditure of public funds allocated and released to them. Now, of course, we know that there are challenges if this office must, carry out its mandate. Now, to resolve the administrative and financial challenges, Nigeria needs an Audit Act, which has been stipulated. We've seen other countries like Ghana, Sierra Leone, Gambia and South Africa, among others, establish the Audit Act. Where are we headed as a nation? If we're looking at checks and balances for Nigeria and for the economy to be on a balanced note. Well, today we will be looking at auditing in Nigeria, challenges and way forward. And we have no other person than the man in charge. Mr. Anthony Ayine. He is the Auditor General of the Federation, a graduate of accounting from the Ahmadu Bello University in 1986, and earned a master's degree in business administration, MBA, from the University of Calabar in 1993. Mr. Anthony Ayine's professional career is filled with sterling qualities quite early in life, having passed the financial qualifying examinations of the Institution of Chartered Accountants of Nigeria, ICAN, in November 1998. He was admitted associate member of the institution in 1999. He was further elevated fellow of the Institute, FCA, in 2010, a certified forensic accountant and a fellow of the Chartered Institute of Taxation of Nigeria, as well as associate member of the Nigerian Institute of Management, NIM. Mr. Ayine began his working career in the then Audit Department, which is now Office of the State Auditor General of Cross River State, in May 1988, and served until 1992 as Auditor 1 when he moved to join the State Financial Institution Equity and Investment Company Limited in Calabar. In September 2001, Mr. Ayine was subsequently appointed Auditor General for Local Governments. Now, this position he held until he was appointed Auditor General of the Federation by the President, Muhammadu Buhari, in accordance with the Federal Civil Service Commission. In the course of his professional career and duty, he has attended several courses and trainings, both locally and internationally, which have expanded his professional horizon and enriched his competencies. You can call him a man of different sides. He enjoys football, swimming and reading in his leisure moments. But today, he's here to talk business. Thank you very much, Mr. Anthony Ayine. We're pleased to have you on platform.
Thank you very much. It's my pleasure and privilege to be here.
All right, so I won't be the only one doing this. And as usual, we have our panelists join us on the platform. Please make welcome Chris Agabi. He's a business correspondent with Daily Trust. Thank you very much, Mr. Chris.
Thanks for having me.
All right, we also have from NTA Business Desk, business editor Leah Katung Babatunde.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for joining us. Now, Mr. Ayine, welcome once again.
Thank you.
So we're talking auditing in Nigeria. challenges and way forward. It's a brand new year, so we have a lot of prospects for Nigeria if we're talking auditing business. But let's begin this way. As a supreme audit institution for Nigeria, what is the role of the Office of the Auditor General of the Federation in helping the nation save monies, especially in these trying times?
Thank you. Principally, let me put it this way. The role of the Office of Auditor General for the Federation, quite often people
say it's of the Federation?
Of the Federation.
Okay, thank
by
you
the
for that.
constitutional provision for the Federation.
Okay.
Is to add value to good governance. Simply. To aid by the work of the Supreme Audit Institution to contribute effectively to good decision making that's in line with laws, rules, and regulation that will assist in effective utilization of available resources. So principally, we look at the role of the Office of Auditor General for the Federation, the Supreme Audit Institution, in that light. When you look at it from that perspective, because essentially is to contribute to good governance. Thank you.
Okay, and in the Constitution, 1999 Constitution, Section 85, subsection 2, provides that your office is independent, or I want you to clarify that. Is your office really independent in that sense?
Thank you. Yes, legally, by the provision of the Constitution, the office is independent. But if we are looking at independence as defined globally by the International Organization of Supreme Audit Institution, which we call for short INTOSAL, and at the declaration in Peru in 1977, the independence of Supreme Audit Institution is looked at in 3 dimensions. The legal independence, of course, yes, we have it. The Constitution is very clear about the independence of the Office of Auditor General. But the other leg of it is administrative independence, meaning that as a Supreme Audit Institution, you should be able to have, the liberty to recruit your own staff, train them, remunerate them to get what you want. Then also, the third part of it is about financial independence. You should be able to have appropriate, let me use that word, because finance is, very rare to talk of having sufficient. So the appropriate financial resources for you to be able to execute, your plans. So this is how the global community look at, independence, the threefold dimension: the legal, the administrative, and the financial independence. But what we are still having challenges, the administrative and the financial independence, which we are hoping that when Nigeria is able to have an audit act, that will be taken care of.
Okay, and looking at the capacity that is on your shoulder, of course, the funds will never be enough, right?
Definitely.
Okay, so let me bring my panelists at this point. Mr. Chris?
Okay. So, let's talk about the Audit Act. Will you bring us up to speed as to where we are exactly on that particular legislation? Where are we?
Yeah, I think we are like at the final stage of the Audit Act. Let me quickly say that the good thing is that the awareness of the importance of the Audit Act is very high, both at the National Assembly, the executive, and even the generality of Nigerians, are getting aware that there is need for an audit act, and I think we are, at the final stage of this.
So what are those issues? Let me come in here. What are those issues the Act seeks to address?
For us today, we are still staff being recruited through the Federal Civil Service Commission. That is not in line with the expectation of the international community, audit community, the global audit community. And like I've said, the issue of financial autonomy or independence, the Act will make specific provision how the budget of the Office of Auditor General is to be handled. But those areas are still lacking today. And in the Act too, if you look at the Constitution have provided in generic terms. In the Act, there are further details given as to, for instance, if you look at, there are some areas even relating to even donor agencies. Today is not very clear, but the Act now provides for how even funds coming from donor agencies should be handled and should be audited. So there are more specific things provided in, will be provided in the Acts.
Okay.
But we are here to have the Acts.
Let's delve into the challenges, especially in carrying out the auditing work for MDAs and other institutions. Now, in 2017, your 2017 report rather, it's stated that most MDAs did not, remit the sum of 1.6 trillion naira. Now, 2 years on, what is the level of compliance? Because I happened to touch a document, your 2017 report. I don't have it here, but I came across it sometime last year. And the 14 agencies were really, in numbers. What would you have to say about that?
Yeah, we are working together with the National Assembly. And let me be quick to say this. And something I also have in view. Perhaps I am planning to have the first interactive session with accounting officers of MDAs, chief executive of parastatals. At times it appears there are some gaps that we need to address. The accountability cycle is such that it will require the cooperation of at different levels, yes, and from different people. And it has come out very clearly to me that there are some gaps that need to be addressed. And so the need for an interactive session with, accounting officers and chief executive of MDAs has become necessary. And I plan by perhaps in the month of March to have such an interactive where accounting officers and chief executive will have opportunity to interact with the Auditor General and his directors directly. That platform will be provided so that questions will be asked, because you look at letters we send out, engagement letters. Yes, we state in the letter what we call responsibilities. If you are engaging an MDA for audit work, there are responsibility on both sides. You have the auditor has his own responsibility, the auditee has his own responsibility. Yes. There are certain things that should be in place for the auditor to work effectively. Yes, we state these things in the engagement letter, but it's clear to me now that chief executive appear not to be aware of the responsibility, what we call management responsibility. if I will not appear to be technical, you see, the responsibility we talk about, for instance, when we talk about management responsibility, it is the place of the management of an MDA to set up an effective management system that will facilitate decision making, will facilitate, transparent use of resources, and to be able to account. It is the place or the responsibility of management to have a good system of internal controls in place that will guarantee if there are some shortcomings, the system should throw up such shortcomings. And the system itself should be able, before even the auditor comes in, there should be that kind of internal check and control that will highlight some shortcomings to the management to take decision. And it is the place of management to ensure there is an accounting system in place, a system capable to keep good accounting record that financial statement can be drawn from such good accounting record. Financial statement could be drawn either monthly, quarterly, half-yearly, and even yearly. Quite often, my observation from what I've seen is this is missing, and it's a gap that needs to be addressed. And I think if I can have the cooperation of a Chief Executive Accounting Officer to have this interface with them directly and provide an opportunity for them to also ask questions as to areas relating to auditing, what their own responsibility and the responsibility of the auditor is. Definitely it will help to strengthen and also to allay some fears, because at times the auditor may have, fear of unknown. Effective interactive session, I'm sure, will help to
in building that synergy you're talking about with these chief executives, a lot of people have hampered on this 2017 report. Would you say, in your own terms, that it was the highest defaulting times for these MDAs? Because you know there were also reports in the report. There were also indications in the reports that there was non-remittance of payments of vouchers, and all of that hitting 2.6 billion naira. If I am correct from the report. Now, we're talking 2020 now. What is the compliance as you build the synergies with these chief executives?
Relatively, we have noticed improvement. Okay. Perhaps to some extent, it depends on the reporting. And there is this area which hopefully, I believe that we'll also have the opportunity to even meet with media to assist for us to have proper understanding how audit report should be reported. Okay. Yes, we are concerned about building a culture, an accountability culture in our nation, Nigeria. But I tell you, there is a way you can build a negative accountability culture. What do I mean by this? If we don't have the cooperation of the media to report audit findings in a positive manner, it can work negatively, and you will not be building a positive accountability culture. When you have reporting that is more like attacking, because at times when I see some reporting, well, I think the media, they also have their own way of, when you see the captions and you begin to wonder, and when you look at the
inside the content
itself,
is different.
You'll be surprised. So we need the cooperation of everybody for us to build a positive accountability culture. We need it in our country, Nigeria. So we need the cooperation of the media, even in the reporting. But I tell you, by my own assessment, I think there is improvement. We may not be there yet, but I think there are positive signs that there improvement. So by the time we have this engagement and we begin to understand, the role of, each section of our society, I think it will be good for us as a country.
Okay.
Now, sir, still talking about the audit report. 2017 came just in December 2019. So why does it take all of those long time for, an audit report to come out?
Thank you. Like I started by telling you about the issue of understanding our various responsibilities. If management of an MDA fail to discharge their own responsibility, for instance, if accounts are not prepared, accounts are not, maybe transactions are not recorded, it will be difficult for the auditor to work. And so you have one area too that the public is not very much aware. Like the question you have asked, it is not the responsibility of the Auditor General to maintain account, no. But quite often I read reports that will appear as if it is the Auditor General's responsibility to maintain account, no. The Auditor General has no responsibility like I described earlier. Setting up your management system is not the business of the Auditor General. Having a good system of internal controls in place, maintaining proper accounting system capable of keeping good accounting record and generating, from which you can generate financial statement is not the Auditor General responsibility. And if these things are not in place, it makes the work of the Auditor General difficult. And so by the time the Auditor General will get over this to the stage of publishing a report, it becomes a Herculean task. And that is why you see some of these delays. And that is why I will still say by the time we begin this engagement and then we begin to understand, our various responsibility, definitely the situation will change for the better. So we're only looking at it at the tail end of the audit report, but what the Auditor General passes through to produce the report, consideration is not given to.
Sorry, before I lose, I lose focus of this question. Sorry, excuse me. I'd like to find out, have there been any MDAs that have been punished in the past for violating some of these audit principles?
And adding to that, between the period of 2017 and now that people are, holding on to this 2017 report you brought out, how has those loopholes been filled?
Thank you for those questions. Here again will draw me to some areas which hopefully when the Audit Act is in place, because for now we have no sanctions. The Auditor General can only report. Thereafter, you cannot, if I should cite the case of Ghana, in the Constitution is clearly specified there are such charges and sanctions. And this is one area that if Audit Act is in place, will cure this problem we are having. Today, the Auditor General will report to the National Assembly. It is now the place of the National Assembly to take off from there. So the Auditor General for now cannot such charge, cannot bring sanction, and that is one area we are trying to cure through the Audit Act, as we have in some other countries where there are sanctions and such charges. And the second question, like you asked, yes, actually, we are supposed to have a mechanism in place, a structure, so that when the Auditor General submits his report to the National Assembly and is treated, and resolutions are passed, the resolutions are now forwarded to the executive for implementation. At that point, yes, the Auditor General will also, take part in a follow-up action to see how those resolutions are being implemented, and a feedback mechanism will be in place. Again, we are still working, to see that these things are very clear and in place. Because once we get it right, I think it will be good for our accountability cycle.
So are you saying that, let's say I'm an executive of an organization and auditors come, do we have instances that you might decide, I don't want them to look at my books?
They may not say, all right, but, we work according to plans. Now, you have planned for an audit. The ordinarily should take 4 weeks, maybe plus, let's say 1 week, 2 weeks. You send an engagement letter. The management will receive and will say, okay, come. In the engagement letter, you state when you are starting actual field work. At the time you are supposed to start this field work, the records are not ready for you to work. 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, the job will not start. Okay? Nobody will say don't audit, but there are some delays created that will affect your work. You understand? So these are some of the challenges we are still having, which hopefully, if we engage so that the management will realize this is my role, this is my responsibility. If we have an audit act that provides, if the auditor submits his engagement letter and there is provision that if this fails, the Auditor General can take this action. There is a sanction attached, there is a surcharge, in all these things. Definitely the situation would also change. Okay, but for now, you can persuade, you can do all this, but you cannot sanction if things not work the way you have planned. So these are the areas we are looking at to cure the abnormality in place.
Okay, so these abnormalities we're talking about, do you see them being addressed this year when the Act comes into place?
Definitely, if the Act is in place and MDAs are aware that if I fail to do this, the Auditor General can take this action because it's provided in the law. And so, definitely.
So what are those sanctions? Maybe if we could get to hear some of them that you're proposing, that your office has been empowered to.
It ranges from financial surcharges to even disciplinary action in terms of recommending an officer to be removed from the schedule. Because if you are in a schedule that you are not meeting up, the demands of that job, of course, you have no business to be there.
A lot of people have asked this question. Why do we have an Auditor General and then we have Auditors General for states and local governments? Can you clarify that?
Yes, it's very straightforward. Nigeria is a federation. You have the federal government, and that is where I fit in as Auditor General for the federation. Now you have the states. If you look at our constitutional provision, of course, the states are independent. So you also have the third tier of government. So you have Auditor General for the federation, you have 36 Auditors General at the state level, and you also have Auditors General for local government. Okay. And I think they are independent of each other, but maybe when we get towards how we are trying to bring a structure in place where there is cooperation, there is collaboration and cooperation in the interest of the Nigerian Federation.
Okay, and in 2018, you started the Auditors General Conference, and you're also planning another one stipulated for this year. What is it all about? Can you explain?
Thank you, that's correct. We had one in 2018. If I should just give you a description of how in the auditing community globally, we have international organization of Supreme Audit Institution. The global body that regulates audit activities. Now beyond this INTOSA, we have regional bodies. You have the European Organization of Supreme Audit Institution called EUROSAI. You have Africa, we have AFROSAI, that is the Organization of African Supreme Audit Institution. So you have various regional bodies. All this is to help cooperation towards sharing global best practices, sharing knowledge, capacity building, and all this. And from what we have seen at a global stage, and even at regional levels, like I mentioned about the AFROSAI, it has been very, very helpful. Within the African context, we also have regional groupings again. You have Organization of Supreme Audit Institution, English-speaking countries, the Francophone, the Arab-speaking countries, so that the grouping will assist the member states to function effectively. Looking at all this, you may be aware, as we mentioned earlier, Nigeria has 74 Auditors General. Auditor General for the Federation, Auditor General for the state, and also local government, and we have Auditor General for Area Council in FCT here. Now, it will be beneficial to us, not only in the audit community in Nigeria, but to Nigeria when we come together, working together, cooperating, collaborating, sharing information, knowledge, and especially the area of capacity building. Because what we are benefiting today from the INTOSA, the AFROSAI, and even the AFROSAI, which is the English-speaking regional body. If we do a similar thing here in Nigeria, I tell you very clearly, if you go to some of the audit offices, it will be clear to you that there are capacity issues. And I think when I examine as the head of the Supreme Audit Institution in Nigeria, taking all these things into cognizance, it became very clear to me that there was urgent need for us to come together, because it would be very, very helpful. Already from the time we had the conference in December 2018, in fact, the consensus in that conference was that it should become an annual event, because it will be helpful to the audit offices in Nigeria. We have started, as part of the reforms which my office has introduced since assumption of office, towards an area we call Audit Academy. An Audit Academy that maybe we are not addressing in terms of looking at structure, but having a faculty. We started, because when we look at gaps, it was very obvious to us that we have to move very fast. We even had an engagement with the chief executive of AfroZaire, that is the English-speaking Supreme Auditing Institution, for an accelerated training program for Nigeria. We have entered into a memorandum of understanding, and if the offices of Auditors General, states and local government are to benefit from this program, this cooperation is key. And these concepts, in fact, when I share it even with the World Bank, they were excited about it, because what we have done as a start, in my office, we have trained trainers. We carry out extensive, an intensive training of, we started with 34 in number to train them sufficiently, which will form a core team that we'll use even in our own internal training as Office of Auditor General for the Federation, and to be able to make this faculty available to the various offices of Auditors General, states and local government. So this forthcoming conference is like building on what we started in 2018, and I think it's going to be very useful.
When is it happening?
Pardon?
When is it going to take place?
Okay, it's taking place from 27th to 31st of this January.
Okay, it's very close.
Yes, it's close.
So, beyond the financial audits, I'm aware you also do some other auditing activities like the lecture. You audited. I'm aware you audited. You audited the lecture. You did the River Niger and perhaps the River Benue, I guess. So, can you tell us what perhaps the government is doing about some of these findings in some of these, these rivers that are drying up and that are causing a lot of environmental issues and sometimes leading to crises and all of those? What exactly were your recommendations, and what is government doing about those?
Thank you. That brings us to the area of performance audits. That is an area which goes beyond the financial audit. Let me explain this by maybe using an example. If going by the financial audit principles, if you are buying this table at X amount of money, once this table is bought in line with the procedures, that will meet the requirement of the financial audit. But for performance audit, it goes beyond that. You address issues like has value, really. Because having a table here may not necessarily give the value that it should give. So performance audits look at issues relating to has value being received. In the procurement of this table, was there effectiveness? So we call, there are 3 E's, which addresses effectiveness, efficiency, and economy. The relationship between the input, the amount that was used to buy this table, what was put in, and the output, the relationship between the input and the output.
The value, so to speak.
Yes, the value and the economy. Was there the least cost? It may be alternative, ways you can. Was this table procured at the least cost, considering other alternatives? So performance audit go beyond your compliance, issues. You look at our route, a road may be constructed, you and me may be passing through that road and you say, oh, all is fine. But performance audit will go into other details. Why are the roads not lasting if this road was expected to last for 20 years, 10 years from the evaluation made? Have we received value? Was there effectiveness in that activity? Was there efficiency? Was there economy? You mentioned about the lecture drying up. Yes, Nigeria, that is the area of we had joint audit with other countries, African countries. And I'm sure you are from the media. You are aware of Mr. President's action in getting other African countries, and even conferences have taken place. I remember I attended one in Transcorp Hotel. All these are towards seeing how to implement these performance audits. Yes, I am fully aware that government is addressing issues relating to the Lechat drying up seriously and in cooperation with other African countries.
Okay, Mr. Ayine, you know, everything we're doing here and what your office stands for is to project transparency and accountability. Now, you have brought out recommendations. And if these agencies must remit duly to the federal government, what are you recommending for the year 2020? It's the start of the year. And if we want to move this nation forward, then it should be a collective responsibility, especially in the fight against corruption.
Yeah, we have discussed in our management meeting, like you rightly pointed out, I think the issue of revenue is number one for us to pursue vigorously, that what is due to a government, especially the federal government of Nigeria, is duly collected, not only collected, but properly accounted for. I think government needs the money, and I've given a charge to all my auditors that whatever audit activity we are engaged in, revenue must rank number one in saying that what is due for government. And we need to also point out, perhaps if people are ignorant about some implication of action, we need to point out very clearly to them, and close monitoring and follow-up action needs, and this is where, like I mentioned earlier, we need the cooperation of chief executive and accounting officers of organization, because we have to develop a mechanism where special reports are highlighted for them to know early enough that something is wrong here, especially in revenue area, because government needs the revenue. And all hands must be on deck to see that we support government to step up revenue coming to government.
Okay, will you say that you have enough manpower in terms of the auditors we have in Nigeria? And secondly, the whole world has moved on. Everybody is going digital. So what are the digital elements to transforming the audit system in Nigeria?
Thank you. We have enough manpower given the targeted trainings we have carried out. And in the area of being digital, we are also addressing that as a start. We have established a unit specifically for IT audit. We are working closely with the Office of Accountant General. There is so much in GIVME. GIVME was established as a platform to address a number of issues which will bring about transparency and accountability. We are working together with the Accountant General training as I speak. On Monday, we started some targeted training last year, which is still continuing. On Monday, in my office, to declare a training program towards this. We are looking at examining areas, GIVMEs, the IPs, and all this, electronic platform to see, how we can work together with the operators to enhance effectiveness, efficiency, that will support transparency and accountability, which invariably will lead to good governance. So we are working together, with the stakeholders. Very, very critical that we need to work with MDAs who have identified stakeholders for us to succeed and also to assist government to realize goals and objectives of our game in terms of the IT area.
I'd like to refresh your memory. Early last year, you were appointed a member of the African Union Board of External Auditors, and it will be due very soon. It's almost 1 year since then. What is the experience for you like personally, and what did Nigeria benefit from you being a member of the board?
Thank you. We have turned in, we audited Pan-African Parliament because, you know, many African countries are working in the External Audit Board of AU. And when we meet for audit planning to audit the accounts of the African Union, we share the jobs. For now, Nigeria is handling specifically Pan-African Parliament as the specific area that we are auditing, and then we now consolidate, what the various African countries have audited. I want to say very clearly that the exposure, especially the staff from my office that are serving in this international engagement, is really, really very good. From the testimony that these staff have given and the exposure, to this international engagement has been very, very beneficial to us as a country. And knowing also very well that Nigeria contributes heavily to the financial activities of the African Union, it gives us also a perspective to see clearly whether the contribution of Nigeria to this and the utilization of these resources, it will better inform government in this area. It will contribute even to decision making of our own government. So it has been very, very, currently we are planning for the financial year 2019, which the field work is likely to commence, I think, about 13 February of this year. That is the field work for the African Union, going by the plan. We were recently at Auditors for the technical planning that has been concluded. So the field work is beginning by 13 February this year.
Okay, so Chris, we're rounding up here, so just your final question.
Before you go, I'd like to find out, beyond the budgetary allocation for your office, do you generate any resources internally?
Internally, no. If you look at, yeah, we generate, but not used by us. You know, every revenue generated is paid to government. I'm sure you're aware of, yes, we generate. We have audit firm registering with us. And so they pay directly to the CFR. So we generate, but not spent in the everything.
Can we have the numbers? Like, can you give us a idea how much for last year, for instance, 2018 stuff?
Do you have the figure?
Do you have the figures?
As an auditor, I like to be precise so that you media people will not quote the same
because one digit counts. One digit count. Okay, Leah, let's hear your final question.
Okay, so could you let us in? What are your targets for 2020?
Thank you. Our target for 2020 is to make sure that our report make useful contribution for us to make sure that, you know, one of the questions you asked here, about this delay in reporting. We want to focus more on engaging the critical stakeholders to facilitate, the work we are doing, and then bringing them to, a level that we can be on the same page and see. You see, quite often, perhaps, we may not realize the cost of some of the anomalies. Take, for instance, if you look at the cost of corruption, you can link what is happening with even insecurity in the situation in our country to corruption. So by the time we engage our stakeholder and also to increase our level of collaboration with other anti-corruption agencies like ICPC, EFCC, because for us to fight corruption, we need the cooperation of as many stakeholders as possible.
All right.
So quite a number of engagement which will impact on our work and then contribute effectively to good governance in our country.
Mr. Ayine, you have made it clear that 1 hour is not even enough, to bring on the table all the things we need to talk about. It's a very critical issue. But we want to thank you very much for coming on the platform. It's been a pleasure having you. And we have been speaking with the Auditor General for the Federation, not of the Federation, Mr. Anthony Ayine. Thank you very much once again.
Thank you.
And I also like to thank our panelist, Leah Katung-Babatunde. Thank you very much, Leah.
Thank you.
She's from the business desk here in NTA, and Mr. Chris Agabi, business correspondent with Daily Trust. Thank you so much for your contributions. We do appreciate.
Thank you.
All right. For the past 50 minutes or more, we have been talking about auditing in Nigeria, challenges and way forward. And our guest has been the Auditor General for the Federation. Now, he has talked about synergy, building synergies with chief executives for an effective collaboration. If we're talking building transparency and accountability to thrive in our nation and to put a stamp on corruption, then we must all work together and ensure that these recommendations are put to good use. And that has been Platform for today. Thank you so much for your time. I am Ruth Aguele. See you some other time. Bye.